All right, I got your mics muted. And we live on here too, on Instagram. So you want to go right into it? I got everybody in the chat. Good morning. Today is March 5th, 2023. Guess what we talking about today? The reprobate-minded human, or the reprobate-minded humans. This morning's lecture intentions are to help target listeners. He's trying to help everybody. You shouldn't even be on here. To help target listeners with upgrading their life algorithms. Okay? So we're not here to help everybody. If you don't like this, you probably shouldn't be on here. All right, so we're going to go straight into it. Everybody's calling each other crazy. This is all like, and it made me interested. I was like, let me study crazy. Let me study insane. Let me study reprobate. I came up with some interesting conclusions, okay? So here we go. I want you all to remember that reprobate-minded humans are mentally marked people if you know what to look for. All right? Now, remember, your dreams are in your head at night and day, right? And we are inside of God's mind in the so-called day and the so-called night, even since the beginning of the Creator's cosmic thoughts to even do this reality. Remember, I am not calling God mine because God is bigger than that. I generally stop at God as the cause of mind and the possibility or spaces that come with it, which allows humans space to be their greatest or worst selves. If you need a deeper meaning, everything dwells in space. So do you acknowledge that everything is in space? Put that in the chat. Do you acknowledge that everything is in space? Now, everything is space, but not space itself. Okay? So, where would you live if there wasn't any space? So guess what? Your gift is space because your gift makes room for you or space for you. Not your reprobate gifts. Okay? So not your reprobate gifts, but your gifts will make space for you. So like I said, I generally stop at God is the cause of mind and the possibilities that come with it, giving the humans spaces to be their highest or lowest selves. All right? My haters want to say something. Go, haters. Jason, why are you quoting the Bible so much? What if I don't believe in the Bible? How can you teach me something that I don't believe? And I'm like, oh, that's deep. Such a deep question. Man, that question is so deep. I say, I don't eat pork anymore. Nor do I believe that the pigs can own real estate. But I heard the Three Little Pigs story used in a legal analogy. And I had the brain capacity to understand the context of what this celebrity judge was trying to explain to me. Because you know that I don't believe in three little pigs building straw, hay, and wood or even brick houses, right? Just like I've never seen a wolf tear up pig real estate. But I still didn't turn away from the truths of what was being said to me. If y'all good with that. I don't care what you believe. Let's just listen to facts of context. Who cares what you believe? So, since God is behind the cause of every possibility of mind, and we know that God can and actually will cause inside of mind. Hold on, my haters. You're wrong, Jason. God gave us 100% control over our minds. It's funny, too, how people want to say God in their arguments, but they be like, you quote the Bible too much. And I'm like, 100% control over our minds. It's funny, too, how people want to say God in their arguments, but they be like, you quote the Bible too much. And I'm like, 100% control over our minds. It's funny, too, how people want to say God in their arguments, but they be like, you quote the Bible too much. And I'm like, So again, I was wrong about this to some people because God gives us 100% control over our minds. And Romans 1:26 and Romans 1:28. Romans 1:26, the sentence begins with, "For this reason God gave them over to degrading passions." Man, they nasty. They doing all type of, the world is crazy. For this reason God, man, they got 100% control over this. God gave them over to degrading passions. Romans 1:28. Romans 1, verse 28. This sentence begins with, "And just as they did not see fit to acknowledge God," what did God do? God gave them up to a depraved mind. So is all this God's will? Shh. And then, now check this out. So I always quote this scripture, but I got to keep it real. Y'all give Satan or the devil too much credit. And then the Bible scripture of Isaiah 45:7 means that God has placed you in different sections of this universal mind. And depending on, remember this word, cause and effect of your past and present mindsets, God will give you over to sane or insane realities. Isaiah 45:7 clearly states, "I form the light, I create darkness, I make peace, and create evil." See, the devil is a lie. The devil did this, right? "I, the Lord, do all these things." So my goal of this lecture is to begin the merging of science, the medical world, history, religion, logical sense, common sense, and a little bit of spooky talk. For Jason to teach us? No. For you all to sort out what so-called normal is. So the definition of reprobate is a person rejected by God. Okay? So this person is rejected by God. And the universal, so not only is this person rejected by God, this person is rejected by the universal laws of mind that God created us to live in. And the reprobate-minded person or people are beyond hope of salvation. So I'm just trying to help everybody. And the reprobate-minded person or people are beyond hope of salvation. Your time is up. Because you're out of the Creator's good graces. So go ahead with your bad self. Literally. Why did he say go ahead like that? I just don't understand. Oh, sorry. The objective of reprobate definition is morally deprived, unprincipled, and bad. So go ahead with your bad. Since we're talking about being in the mind, and an objective of reprobate is bad, go ahead. Since we all in the mind, go ahead with your bad self. So the word reprobate is even from the Greek word adokimos, according to Vine. Watch what it signifies. Signifies not standing the test. You didn't pass. Rejected. Get it out of here. That's what reprobate, that's what the objective is, and that's what the energy comes with. So, a person's mental health issues is one or two things. I don't care what you say. One or two things. How you gonna break down the mental health? A person's mental health issues is one to two things. One, a test to be beaten or failed. Or two, is divine judgment. And what can you do when judged but to take that? Shout out the Bad Boy songs. Get it? Bad Boy. So, like our dreams are in our minds at night, are in our minds by the way of daydreams during the day, we humans are only borrowing pieces or percentages of God's good or evil mind spaces. It's like being able to eat from a tree of good or evil. There's nowhere for you to hide in universal mind. I use this for people who want to escape this reality. Where are you going to go in mind? It's not the devil, it's all God. So which mind of God do you want to earn? You mean a blessing? No. Which mind of God do you want to earn? So according to Isaiah 45:7, not me, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So which mind of God do you want to earn? This reprobate mind is not a test from God, but it's the judgment from God. God will not interrupt the free will of your destruction. God's laws will let you live in your mess because you earned it. According to free will. According to free will. Oh, my haters want to talk. Jason, we don't care about your friend Will. Did he get locked up or something? No. Free will means you are in a test and you have the so-called options of choice to totally enhance your life or decline your life. Romans 1:28. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge. Get out of here, God. God gave them over to a debased mind to do those things which are not fitting. Romans 1:29, verse 29 reads, being filled with unrighteousness, sexual immorality, wickedness, covetousness. I want to be like you. Maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-mindedness. Look at this. This is the worst one. They are whisperers. And you must be out of your mind to not think massive lying and whispering is not going on right now. Y'all names is all in type of whispers. It's a whispering energy going on. Because we all have these so-called research channels to know real truths. But who has time to thoroughly research a reprobate lie? I'll say that again for the people in the back. Who has time to thoroughly research a reprobate lie? Quran 49:6. Quran 49:6 clearly states, O you who believe, if an unrighteous man brings you news, look carefully into it, lest you harm a people in ignorance and then be sorry for what you did. I'll say that again. Quran 49:6 clearly states, O you who believe, if an unrighteous man brings you news, look carefully. Man, I skimmed over it real quick on social media. Look carefully into it. It was a quick phone call, but I had so much stuff going on. But they told me some bad stuff about you. Look carefully into it, lest you harm a people. It didn't even say one person. It said a people. Well, I read the email and the text. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we beefing right now. I don't like the way you texting me. Look carefully into it, lest you harm a people in ignorance. Then be sorry for what you did. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what people think. I don't know what y'all telling people, like, just say sorry. Ruin their life. Try to ruin their life. Attempt to ruin their life. Ruin their day. Ruin their hour. If you can ruin them. And then afterwards, just say, I'm sorry. I'm like, where is this workshop where just say, I'm sorry? I should stop that. Okay. A whisperer is a person that loves to make evil moves in so-called silence, while their energies are screaming out loud who really did it. Once you let a reprobated-minded pastor, preacher, or minister into your home, you will begin to see and feel destruction all around you. It should be against the law for reprobated-minded pastors to be able to be in any pulpits of influence. I'll say that again. It should be against the law for any reprobated-minded pastors to be able to be in any pulpits of influence. Why? It's because they will turn the pulpits into a pooling of weaker-minded members into the pits of mind hell, making it the pulling pits to mind hells literally. I also like to call these fake pastors, ministers, and religious parasites the religious parasites. Jason, do you have some science on that statement? Yes, I'm not going to just call somebody religious parasites without having science on the statement. So yes, I have science on calling these, whatever you call them, religious parasites. Here we go. Do you believe God created all things? Yes. Well, since God created all things, then thank God parasites equates to being a part of all things. So according to science, Dr. B. Serious and an alley-oop from Big Brother Blue Pillar, a toxoplasma mind is alive and well on Earth by the way of being an extraterrestrial. Jason, you sound like spooky. Extraterrestrial is just from space. We from Earth. I wonder where Earth is hanging out at. I don't live in space. I live on Earth. I wonder where Earth is at. I wonder if Earth is in space. So a toxoplasma definition is a parasitic spore forming protozoan that can sometimes cause disease in humans. So watch this. You might think this is boring. Watch how I end this. This scientific definition. So toxoplasmosis results from an infection with a common parasite found in cat feces. Shout out to y'all with cats. And contaminated foods. That could happen. And watch this. And can cause serious complications for pregnant women. Watch this. And people with weakened immune systems. Now, this is what I cared about. Toxoplasma controls the mind. It affects the amygdala. And many sections of science, check this out, are blaming this parasite for the wars, for the hatred, and the division many humans tend to act upon. I know a lot of people know this, but I gotta really pause a little bit because y'all thought I was gonna say some boring science. No, this is not no boring science. Toxoplasma controls the mind. It affects the amygdala. Watch this. Jason's opinion and many sections of science are blaming this parasite for the wars, the hatred, and the division many humans tend to act upon. Parasites are way older than humans, even worms. Even worms, Jason? But what's older than dirt? And we know worms rock and roll in the dirt. So according to science, worms have been getting it out of the mud longer than your favorite rappers. Making worms older than humans and parasites are older than worms due to parasites' abilities to be extraterrestrial from outer space. And they can move without spaceships. So again, a toxoplasma mind can occur on Earth. And if everything that is allowed to happen here, it just so happens to happen by a divine entity or the best of planners, then it happened. And then if it happened, it was divinely sanctioned. And guess what? Now it's a divine assignment. And the law, watch this, of your opinion and the law of cause and effect will give you your grades. Remember cause. Humans are controlled by parasites. So stay away from these fake pastors and minister parasites because sometimes these charlatans can be so infected that they make you want to change the phrase of, man, who you think you are to who do you think I'm not? I'll repeat. Who do you think you are? Who do you think I'm not? According to 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 through 12, 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 through 12. God can and will give over strong delusion to certain humans. It states, and with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that what? That live, that perish. Why did they perish? Because they receive not the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause, cause is in 2 Thessalonians 2, 10 through 12. And for this cause, what happened after the cause, which I said was going to give you your grades? God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they might be damned, or they all might be damned. Who? Who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. A lot of bad stuff happened to y'all, and a lot of people who did it to y'all took pleasure in that, son. I promise y'all. I done heard so many stories. A lot of snake scumbag stuff happened over the last few years and months. And people took pleasure in it. Well, read about them in 2 Thessalonians 2 through 10 through 12. I know you didn't do nothing wrong. Think about it. Everybody's retelling their stories of problems they having with people. I wasn't even doing nothing. We should do a podcast of let's get down to who really did it. Everybody be like, no, I ain't going on that. Okay. So guess what? So delusional people are doing God's stupid work in this story reality. While you and other people may be blessed to carry out God's more genius work and more genius righteous works. Yeah, that's what everybody thinks, right? I'm the genius part of God's mind. Reprobate pastors and ministers change truths. Why? To fit their dirty schemes. According to Romans 1:25, who changed the truth of God into a lie? Now, according to Romans 1:25, when you do that, your mind is so whack that you praise Jordan more than Nike. You praise Jordan's take-home money more than Nike's take-home money. According to Romans 1:25. Let me read it and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. According to Romans 1:25. So some of y'all serving the creature more than the creator of the creature. And I'll go deeper into that later on. So do you remember the old sexual revolution? Some say it was in the 60s. Some say it was in the 70s. And I even heard some people say it was in the 90s. And I was like, okay. But any type of sexual revolution, that whatever time period that is, it'll usher in new reprobated minded humans. Because this is when God or the principles of or the laws of God leave men, women, and the general youth society. So God is cutting out of here. The good part of God. Because last time I checked, according to the scriptures that y'all say y'all believe in, that's why I'm using scriptures that y'all say y'all believe in, God will give you over into, and we're all brawling God's mind like your computers are brawling Wi-Fi systems and energy outlets or Bluetooth capabilities. Women. Y'all should also stay away from a lot of these reprobated-minded ministers and pastors. Jason, who you think you talk? Who you? For this cause, God gave them up to vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use. What they changed the natural use into? Into that which is against nature. Romans 1:26. All I'm saying is, who do you think you are to go against nature? What you mean? Go fight a tornado. No, seriously. Go Romans 1:26. Let's move on. Remember, when God's best energies leaves a person, leaves a group, or leaves a society, you can begin, I promise you can begin to see levels of decline in everything attached to that person, group, or society. It's a fact. It's a fact. When God's best energies leaves, you'll see a dramatic change in that person, group, or society. It's a fact. Now, God also allows death to be compatible with the reprobated-minded person. According to Romans 1:32, it clearly states, who knowing the judgment of God. I got my degree and I know all about the Bible. Okay, so you know the judgment of God? Jason, are you a pastor? No, I never claim to be a pastor because I know the judgment of God. And if I ever claim to do some stuff like that, I know the judgment of God. And I know Romans 1:32. So if I ever step into a pulpit of influence and say that I'm anything like that, I know the judgment of God. So Romans 1:32 clearly states, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. Did the Bible say do you? Do them. Now, I don't know what Jason's talking about. I am a very powerful person, and also you're above nature and you're above laws, and there are no so-called past or present leaders that can change this judgment. This death or destruction is a non-reversible because it's divine judgment. It's not a test anymore. And guess what? We are living in a Romans 1. Romans 2, we're living in a Romans 1 world of judgment right now. Shout out to my brothers Red Pill and Blue Pill. Check out their Winning Rome series. Cross-reference that. Check out the Winning Rome series. Y'all be like, oh, I see how he did that. We do live in a Romans world of judgment. Y'all must be out of your mind to think the teacher is not cause right now. So we don't have to go deep into who God is, blah, 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 blah. But the fear of God equates to reverence and respect. Respect and reverence happens in the mind. If I gave you everything in the world, but you had to leave your mind right here? And this is just for the people who have the ability to do this. Y'all wouldn't argue with the 3 little pig story. No, pigs can't. Do y'all know there's people out here that you cannot tell the 3 little pig story to? Because they will argue that pigs cannot physically buy real estate. And you'll just look at them like, why am I here? You start blaming yourself like, why am I here right now? So this is just for the people who have the ability to use context to learn lessons. I'm just talking to y'all. Anybody else? Sorry that you gotta be able to look at this, with context. Sorry that I'm putting y'all through this. Everybody else? Respect and reverence happens in the mind. So if I gave you everything in the world, boom, you got everything in the world, but you got to leave your mind right here. What would be the first thing that you would do without your mind? What could you do? What would you do without your mind? I know, nothing. So a reprobated-minded pastor or minister, or just human in general, in the religious world, due to new trends and laws, the reprobated-minded pastor or minister can so-called preach and teach in even more lower vibrational institutions. However, the truth of the laws of mind and the universe and cause and effect don't give a damn about a new trend that's not a truth trend. These are facts. So, one way to tell if you're dealing with a reprobated-minded pastor or minister is you pay attention to how their so-called truths hold up to new trends that they face. The fake pastors and ministers will always bend to new trends, no matter if there is no truth there. They will hold that up. These reprobated-minded pastors and ministers want fame really bad. So They'll support anything that they feel will help them so-called arrive. And then they have a track record of doing very scumbag things. But the power of Jesus miraculously saves them at the right places and right times. It's like a political campaign. And I can admit it, a lot of these fake ministers, they do act and behave like the Lord in very mysterious ways. But the bad news about that is, according to the Bible, that's the Lord's behavior trait. And bringing order out of chaos tends to help humans live best. A reprobate-minded person is placed in a delusional spirit that feels wise. According to Romans 1:22, it states, professing them to be wise, they became fools. Now remember, you can use this with anybody that thinks they know everything. Think about it. If anybody thinks they know everything, I'll say Romans 1:22, professing them to be wise, they became fools. Prove that somebody's wise and prove that somebody's a fool. I will call you a fool for even getting in a business to even profile them. Why don't you just make sure you're a genius in your life? Because I'm conscious now. My main man, Supernova Slime, said, a lot of woke people have this superiority complex. And it's so ironic. You freed your mind to become a slave to your ego. How, Sway? Breathe. A reprobate-minded person. Now watch this. No. Y'all better, no. These are bars right here. Watch this. A reprobate-minded person is using the parts of God's mind that God wants to lose. Have you ever watched a movie and be like, I hope you lose. I hope they don't get it. A reprobate-minded person is using the parts of God's mind that God wants to lose. If we are in God's mind, like our dreams are in our minds, and just like we're rooting for certain characters in our dreams to win, like us and probably people we love, God is rooting against characters going against divine will. God is not with you if you're a reprobate. Okay, because Jason, you pointed at me, and I know nobody's a reprobate. Everybody listening to this is not a reprobate. It's whoever you're beefing with. I had one of the craziest people on the planet call me a reprobate. And I said, "What? Can you just tell me what it is so I can just know who I am? Can you?" And again, instead of telling me the definition, they were like, "You're being condescending." And I was like, "No, I want to get better. Can you tell me?" Don't nobody know the definition of this. You just say it when you beefing with somebody, or if somebody's acting different, you say, "Oh my God, they're a reprobate." So I was like, "Man, let me really study this." So again, a reprobated-minded person is using the parts of God's mind that God wants to lose. And again, if we're all living in God's mind, like our dreams are so-called in our minds, and just like we're rooting for certain characters in our dreams to win, because guess what? When we don't, it's called a nightmare. So we're rooting for certain people to win, including ourselves in our dreams. God is rooting against characters going against divine will. God is not with you. Well, he was with me. God was with me before. God is not with you anymore. Jason, I am very deep, and this is all good, but you need to give me some stuck-up definitions. Okay, I got you. Stick up my butt person. Another definition of reprobate mind is a person without any moral scruples. Jason, what are scruples? I'm not that deep. Scruples is a feeling of doubt or hesitation. Watch this. Hesitation with what? With regard to morality. Oh, that's good. You hesitate before you do something immoral. Or propriety of a course of action. So I'll give you a sentence to give deeper meaning. I had no scruples of eavesdropping on y'all private conversation. Oh, so you have no scruples or hesitation about being a scumbag. Yeah. It's a hesitation. You heard of the calm before the storm? It's the hesitation. It's the hezzy before the scumbagness. If you even got a hesitation. So remember, observe their hesitation abilities towards doing things by themselves or with people that will ruin their lives or will ruin other people's lives. Check they hezzy. For all my basketball fans. Check they hezzy. If you don't play basketball, you're going to think everything I did was crazy. According to the Bible, Hosea 4:6. According to the Bible, Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and God forgets your children. So another way of becoming a reprobate-minded human is this. Watch this. Is the so-called graduate levels of knowledge and retire your learning. Shout out to all the so-called seniors on all levels, even senior citizens. Y'all better not graduate. That's all I gotta say. Now, what makes a person lose their mind? Has anybody ever told you lost your mind? Here's my disclaimer. One must have a so-called normal mind first to be properly asked how one could lose their so-called normal mind. This mind is not yours. You are borrowing higher or lower levels of mind space. You don't believe me still? Ask the person that takes a few years off of studying to remember everything that they were currently learning. Or again, conduct interviews at so-called retirement villages and ask them to compare how sharp their minds are now to when they were younger. This is not your mind. The mind is connected to different forms of infinity, but here's are my top 5 ways that people can lose their so-called minds that they think they own. Top 5, I know 6, I know 7. I know it's probably way more than 5. I just stopped at 5 right here. So here are my. Well, I know. I'm not talking about you. Here's my. Oh, okay. I got to step outside of myself and listen to your 5. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Exactly. So here are my top 5 ways people lose their the so-called minds that they think they own. Number 1, trying to control uncontrollable things. You're about to lose your so-called mind that you think you own. Number 2, frustrating themselves trying to understand the non-understandable whys of their lives. Why is this happening? Why is this? Why did it go this way? Why? No, let me stop. Let me stop. Number 3, co-creating bad partnerships. You are going to lose your mind. You trying to win championships. Number 4, not knowing, living, and behaving in your purpose. You are going to lose your mind. And then number 5, they plan on lacking knowledge, or they hate studying, or they hate learning from others or their own experiences. According to Hosea 4:6, this really makes God mad at you and your children. Many people call America Babylon. Y'all have heard this, right? Okay. So if we're living in Babylon and on Babylon, then what would you call normal? What's the so-called healthy normal or a healthy Babylonian mind? Can y'all tell me what a healthy Babylonian mind is? Who has a normal mind in a Babylon, capitalistic, mental health declined society? Let's repeat that for the people in the back. Who has a normal mind in a Babylon, capitalistic, mental health declined society? Here are 5 more different ways to lose your best mind. Do you want to lose your best mind? Everybody can be in your best mind right now. So it's about keeping it, right? Here are 5 ways to lose it. So we should listen how to lose it so we can keep it better. Or keep it better fortified. Number 1, never communicate your feelings. Keep it all inside. You're going to lose your best mind. Number 2, never spend time in nature. Shout out to that Freon and air conditioning. Number 3, you never study. Number 4, you are offended by everything, but never ask questions for clarity so you won't get offended by everything. Let's say number 4 again. You are offended by everything, but you never ask questions for clarity so you won't get offended by everything. You're going to lose your mind if you don't stop doing that. And then 5, you put everyone's life above yours, and you get mad when they copy you by always putting their lives above yours too. Say that again, Jason. You put everyone's life above yours. And then you get mad when they copy you by always putting their life above yours. I get it. Jason's being sarcastic. Yes, there's learning in sarcasm. If the reprobate mind is co-created by artificial living, which we're going to be talking about next month, is artificial living a real byproduct of artificial intelligence? And what is the outcome of artificial realities? Now you sit back and think about this as you eat your seedless grapes. I'm gonna say that again. That's funny. You got it. One person got it. What if the reprobate mind is co-created by artificial living, and is artificial living a real byproduct of artificial intelligence? And what is the outcome of artificial realities? Now sit back and think about this as you eat your seedless grapes. Okay, a few more people got it. Okay, I see where I'm going. Okay. Now, this is the funniest question I had, but I had to take it. What religion has the most reprobated-minded members? I said, I'm not answering that like you want me to answer. I said, I will say that any individual message is only a part of a whole knowledge. Translation, meaning no matter what human spoke, will speak, or is currently speaking, you will never explain the entire movie, Sway. Only parts of the movie. You know, like movie trailers and commercials do. I don't know, Jason. I need Bible. I know. 1 Corinthians 13, 9 through 11. 1 Corinthians 13, 9 through 11. Just to show you how small you are, but how big you are. 1 Corinthians 13, 9 through 11. Verse 9 says, for we know in part. We know everything. For we know in part. Man, I know everything. For we know in part. Jason think he know everything. For we know in part. And we prophesy in part. Ask me anything, I'll tell you. And we prophesy in part. Verse 10. But when that which is perfect is come, that which is in part shall be done away. It basically means when the whole comes, the part ain't going to really be getting all the shine. When the part is on stage, it's cool. But when the whole pizza gets there, okay, I get it. But science says we only use a small percentage of our brains and minds. But I was like, I learned that in 1 Corinthians 13, 9 through 12 as a child, science world. Jason, okay, so we know in part. Okay, what's the definition of part? A piece or a segment of something, such as an object or activity or period of time, which, watch this, which, this is another sentence, which combined with other pieces make up a whole. So a part is just a part, but if you combine it with the other pieces, that's different. That's like two or three working together. Who has time for that in the independent world? So remember, we prophesy in part, we know in part. So the synonyms of part is bit, slice, chunk, lump, hunk, fragment, scrap, segment, piece, portion, proportion, percentage, fraction, division, section. You know what the opposite of part is? Whole or entirety. So if we know in part and we prophesy in part, and even the great Andre 3000 said, play your part, 3 stacks. Play your part. So play your part and stop thinking you're a hoe. The brain, let's go back to the science world. We're losing the science people. The brain is the most complex organ in the human body. Many people believe that a person only ever uses 10 to 15% of their brain, which is a small part of something bigger, right? Do you understand how many parts want to be heard? How many pieces, slices is like, y'all better treat me like a house? Where the house at? I can't get flagged for that. I'm talking about WHOLE. Anything else would be uncivilized. No, I just thought of something even funnier. But again, if the brain is the most complex organ in the human body, many people believe that we only use 10 to 50% of our brains. So again, that's a little part. Why do y'all think why do we think we're little parts? We're little individual pieces. I'm too smooth to be embarrassed by that. We're little individual slices of pieces and others, cultures are like whole pieces and meat lovers pieces. Y'all see where I'm going with that, right? Shout out to all the individual slices walking around trying to fight hoes. Trying to get them hoes. So, a person's brain determines, watch this, how they experience the world around them. The brain weighs about 3 pounds. So it contains around, watch this, 100 billion neuron cells. What does these 100 billion neuron cells do? They carry information. I don't study. Oh, well, shout out to your 100 billion neuron cells not carrying nothing. It's carrying memories. Are we properly working with all 100 billion neurons? Or do we call these the so-called untapped percentages of mind spaces or mind parts? Another possible medical term for a reprobate-minded human is psychosis or a psychotic disorder. So the main description of this is a mental disorder characterized by, watch this, a disconnection from reality. But again, here come my philosophical people. What is reality? Well, let's steal your car and see what reality is. And you call the cops, and the cops be like, well, that's not a reality for us. You see how you can just be silly? There's realities. Stop signs are realities. Stop lights are realities. Universal realities. Gravity's no. I got this flying machine. See, again, get them out of there. They don't know how to stay in context. They could be disconnected from reality. Psychosis may occur as a result. Now, check this out. So now it's like, dang, man, everybody could be like this. Psychosis may occur as a result of a psychiatric illness, like schizophrenia, and other instances may be caused by health conditions. Everybody got health conditions, medications, and drug use. Or drug use. Which qualifies the majority of America under those. So any form of psychosis is major hell for the victim and the victim's so-called loved ones. So the person suffering from psychosis can't tell the difference between delusion and reality. You know how children play video games and carry that play over into their 3D world? And this don't help. A lot of these people are sleep deprived. And the definition of sleep deprivation is just a simple one, is just a situation or a condition of suffering from a lack of sleep. So many sleep deprived people with PTSD admit to feeling presence, oh my God, I feel a presence around me when nobody's there or even behind them. In other accounts, the victim may even see a presence in a corner of their eyes, when in all actuality, again, they created all these dangers. This could be due to depersonalization. Depersonalization is the action of divesting someone or divesting something, watch this, of human characteristics or individuality. You're not even a human. Doesn't this sound like a general description of black men? Another description of depersonalization can be the persistent feeling of observing oneself from outside of one's body and having a sense that none of your surroundings are real. That's depersonalization. This ain't real. It's really not real because nature is constantly, evolving, right? That's why you get in trouble for throwing stuff on the ground outside of nature that's not biodegradable. What is biodegradable? What is rust? Everything is not real. Everything is constantly becoming something. So you kind of right. But from this perspective, things are real. And again, for the people that be like, no, none of this is real. Okay, keep running red lights and see how real that road is. just boycott red lights. Philosophical people always stop at red lights. Especially when semis is coming. They be like, I never see them be like, is this semi real or is it just in my mind? It's like, you don't never do that. So depersonalization is a natural reaction to certain traumas. So we got to get rid of these traumas. And I looked up Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he said some real bars on this. He said an addiction, because we can be addicted to trauma. So an addiction is when the body has been conditioned to be the mind. So it's matter over mind over mind over matter. Mind over matter is so much better. Matter over mind. Do you understand if it was matter over mind? If your body was stronger than your mind? Whew. So Dr. Joseph Spencer basically just explained, that's how I took it. He said an addiction is when the body has been conditioned to be the mind. All I took that as is, matter over mind. So he also said it's the overcoming process that is the becoming process. And I did like that. Everybody wants to become, but it's like you got to overcome. Oh, the overcoming of these problems is the becoming. As soon as I overcome these problems, and then it's like, no. The overcoming is the becoming. Oh, I do get that. I was waiting to overcome, then I was going to become something. It's like, no. You become that something through the overcoming. He also said you can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering. Or you can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. You can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering. Or you can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration. So which one do we usually pick to learn and change in? Shout out to changing rooms. I'm going to reason with a reprobate-minded person. All right. You cannot reason with a reprobate-minded human. They live and desire a life of self and lies. Self and lies. Self and lies. Self and lies. Some of the most narcissistic humans are reprobates. And watch this. Did you know if you put self and lies together, it almost spells selfies? I'll say it again. If you put self and lies together, it almost spells selfies. But I watch spelling bees, and you would get it wrong if you spell selfies because you got to take that L. And then it spells selfies. But the bad news about taking that L is you're guaranteed to take many more L's with this mindset. Self and lies. If America is Babylon, then having a so-called normal mind is to have a Babylonian mind. So are Babylonian minds reprobate minds? God gives up on a reprobate, just like God gave up on past Babylonian realities. Let's argue. According to the Bible, God's grace of protection temporarily left Samson for using the mind in a haphazard way. Shout out to haphazard being used in this presentation. So, when Samson's simp, sucker for love self made God leave him for telling Delilah his most cherished secret, God left him until the end of his simp life. And for the last few minutes of Samson's real life, he kept it real, and real results followed. So according to the Bible, God will leave you when you continue to be stupid. I thought I was going to say another word. God's presence and energy will depart from you temporarily or forever. When your grace is gone, it's gone. When God is not with you anymore, like the case of many of these reprobate pastors, then it's a free-for-all for the evil side to play with their minds through delusion, which affects their decision-making and their behaviors. Just look at their past decision-making and behaviors. Delusion is there, I bet you. So, how many times does it say in the Bible, God gave them over? God gave them over. God gave them over. So shout out to the people who think they in control and believe in the Bible. Tupac once said he used to feel like there was a man following him and protecting him. He said it gave him a confidence. He said he felt like when he felt like that man was no longer walking with him, and he didn't feel spiritually safe anymore, or after that. And shortly after, we all know what happened in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas, right? Let's check out some family ties. I'm sorry. My bad. Let's check out some family lies that are related to reprobate energies. A mental and spiritual family member of reprobate energy is a Jezebel mindset that is actually purposely being introduced to younger women by older, bitter women, simp males, and so-called white supremacy. I have seen many forms of so-called women's empowerment advice be given to women from so-called updated Jezebel mindsets. And we know that the right woman can motivate a man to become a millionaire, just like the right woman can also motivate a man to suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempts, and even suicidal manifestations by not being his divine balance. What about women? And the same goes for real women. I really believe this happens to women. I really believe this happens when the woman begins evolving herself with a new man or people. I'll say this again. I believe this happens when a woman involves herself with a new man or people that wants her boyfriend or husband dead or dislikes him spiritually, mentally, physically. So remember, women are receivers, just like keyboards. What's your keyboard do for you? Got you. Now, there are certain types of men, and again, I believe this. There are certain types of men who are purposely sleeping with naive women or women in survival mode and transferring that hate for her man to her, or is stronger feelings, STDs, babies, the only realities transferred during good and bad sex. I'm going to say it again. There are certain types of punk ass men out here that are purposely sleeping with naive women and women in survival mode and transferring that hate for her man, for her man, to her. Or it's just stronger feelings, STDs, spiritually transmitted diseases or sexually transmitted diseases, or babies, the only realities transferred during good or bad sex. I know. So a Jezebel spirit, watch this. A Jezebel spirit tends to only thrive in first world countries only. A first world country is co-created by men and women. It's a fact. But it's destroyed by the division of the genders, never allowing mankind to reach Atlantis type outcomes again, which is a reality that comes with the divine balance of the two genders. First world country status is the highest that most of these first world countries will ever reach due to this divide. Enclose. Another way God turns you over from a so-called sane mind into an insane mind is when you do one of these three things. And again, it could be millions other. I picked these three. Number one, if you want to go from a sane mind to an insane mind, don't know why you're born, which is about 95% of society, right? So there's a lot of work to do in that field. Number two, if you want to go from a sane mind to an insane mind, if you don't know the real people that are supposed to be in your life and for how long? No, if you real, you with me forever. They're going to start doing crack in 5 years. Y'all should probably split ways in 5 years. I promise you that was a joke, but y'all see where I'm coming, right? Yeah, he's going to start throwing people off of bridges in 3 years. But he real though. Yeah, that's real stupid. So you need to know the real people who are supposed to be in your life, but for how long? And number three is what really gets me. Number three gets me all the time. You want to be insane? Start copying people that are copying you. You really gonna go insane. I promise you, if you're just feeling crazy and you a copycatter, I promise you you're copying somebody that's copying you. So you don't even like the real you. Because again, you could be real good and real stupid. And you could be real smart and real dumb. So stop just be like, man, I'm keeping it real. You keeping it real dumb or keeping it real smart? You need that. Real is a compound word. Stop just stopping at real. Man, I'm real. Real what? You real ugly? You real stinky? You real fresh? Don't just say real. So stop copying people that are copying you, because we laugh at animals imitating humans. But that's my dog when we talking about our best friends or talking to your best friend, or shut up, bitch, when you listening to old Death Row songs. Your mind is connected to God's definitions of infinity, not your definition or so-called definitions of infinity. Which means who really has their mind infinitely right. Your right mind is connected to infinity and you got your mind right. So who has their minds infinitely right? and what is so-called normal. In my opinion, properly following the universal laws of God or your creator is the most normal behavior that there can be. Let me know when you're ready to be normal. I'm going to stop it here. Thank you for joining me for another Sunday Bars presentation. Looking forward to building with you next time. Let's work. Let's work.